pass that lady again. And she stops me. I don't even think she realizes she's already seen me. And she goes, waves and is like, good job. And I'm like, do I know you? And she goes, I don't think so. And I was like, well, you're acting like someone who knows me. And if you knew me, you'd know that I'm on this trail all the time. So it's really not that exciting. So now you know. And then I just took off running. I am so petty, but in the most delightful way ever.
Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are going to be talking about Miss Anna O'Brien, or Glitter and Lasers. We had another WRI. Now you might be wondering what that is. What WRI stands for is Walking Related Incident, okay? And we've had a few of these with Anna, and we have had another one. And so we are going to be talking about this WRI in detail and going over it because it is quite the doozy. And I have seen some people comparing it to another WRI that happened a few years ago. And Anna herself actually finally has addressed that whole situation, which I am very excited to get into. So the WRI that we are going to be talking about is this hike that Anna went on at the end of last month, the end of July. Okay, so this is the TikTok that kind of shares this hike that Anna went on. And she goes on to say in the caption, "This was my first hike over 8K, the height at which people can experience serious altitude sickness. And I did it 100% alone. The Williams Lake Trail in Taos," I probably say that wrong, "is technically a 3.7 mile out and back. But if you add in the walk to the trailhead and a saunter around the lake, you're looking at more at like 5+ miles. This hike literally took me forever to do. I had to keep pausing to allow my body to acclimate because I did not want to get sick from the low oxygen levels. Hiking at 10K plus," she's talking about altitude, right? "Feet is no joke. Pushing too hard, too quickly, and failing to keep properly hydrated/fueled could have not only given me altitude sickness, but it could have triggered my autoimmune conditions to flare. Getting to the top by myself was proof that everything I've been working on to learn and do is starting to open things up. I truly could have never imagined I'd be able to do. Here's to many more adventures on mountains in the sky." And so let's go ahead and check out this TikTok where Anna is, hiking this mountain.
Pushing myself. I'm doing the William Lake Trail in Taos, New Mexico.
This trail's gonna be really hard for me for 3 reasons. 1, it's the highest altitude I've ever done, and it starts at 10,000 feet. 2, it's an aggressive climb up. It's about 1,000 feet up in about 1.5 miles. And 3, I'm going it alone, so I don't have anyone to help me get through this. I've got to do it by myself.
I'm going, I think even higher than that. I'm not 100% sure. 1 mile down, Gatorade break.
So I think the thing that's interesting here is that there's just such a stark difference between this version of Anna, right? And the version of Anna we saw a couple years ago, that we were talking about when she ran the 5K, when she was, on the trail, which we're definitely going to get into. And like there was these two different versions of Anna, right? There's this version of Anna that is, I am capable and fat people are capable. And, this was like in I think the body positivity era when she was really kind of leaning into that, where it was like, I can do whatever, I'm capable of whatever. And like, if you congratulate me on doing a hike, I'm going to be upset about that because there shouldn't be anything special about it because just because I'm fat doesn't mean I'm not capable, right? So there's that version. And then there's this version, which is what we're seeing now, especially more frequently and more recently, is I am big and I should be celebrated for doing anything that is even remotely challenging because isn't it great that I am a big person doing these hard things? Now, those two things can be true for a specific person. I think it's interesting that Anna is trying to play both sides, right? It's like she's trying to have her cake and eat it too type of thing, where there's times when she wants to be celebrated for doing things, like basically, I'm not saying that this is the bare minimum, but sometimes when it's like quote unquote the bare minimum, right? The whole bagel thing when she walked and got a bagel, right? She wants to be celebrated for that. But at the same time, when she was running the 5K, she would get upset with people that would say, hey, keep up the good work. It's awesome that you're doing this. And she really struggles to see the difference in those two things, which, again, we will definitely be getting into.
But this high of an altitude, you're actually at risk for altitude sickness. So hydration becomes incredibly important to survive.
We are so thin that I'm out of...
To survive is, maybe, but we're not on Mount Everest here, I don't think that there's like bodies scattered along the side of the trail here of people that just couldn't make it.
Like every couple steps, so I have to stop, really catch my breath, and keep going. But right now I'm at 10,500 feet. A half mile from the lake, and the altitude is really rough, but I'm determined to make it.
I know this looks super simple, but high altitude hiking is no joke.
I freaking made it. Took me forever, went slow as hell, but you know what? That doesn't matter.
Okay, so coming up here is what I think is the most interesting, and what a lot of other people noticed is a very stark difference between how she interacted with this person saying something to her versus the whole trail incident, right? And so let's watch that. And then we'll play the trail video because, one, it's one of my favorite pieces of content on the internet, but I think it will add to the effect here.
I made it. No.
So there was someone that asked, have you been up here before, right?
And that's insane. It's freaking insane.
It is very pretty there.
I'm just having a good cry. I just wanted to do this stuff for so long, and now I can't. I'm just really grateful. Today, I'm really pushing myself.
So we see, you know, how she interacts with that person that said something to her for finishing this hike. Now let's go to the trail incident and see how she responded to that.
I passed that lady again, and she stops me. I don't even think she realizes she's already seen me. And she goes, waves, and is like, good job. And I'm like, do I know you? And she goes, I don't think so. And I was like, well, you're acting like someone who knows me. And if you knew me, you'd know that I'm on this trail all the time, so it's really not that exciting. So now you know. And then I just took off running. I am so petty, but in the most delightful way ever. You can be nice and a bad bitch.
I woke up to a couple people really disappointed to how I talked to the lady on the trail yesterday. I think people missed last week's story where I ran into this woman, this same exact woman, and she said something like, you know, getting out there is the first step or something like this. And granted, I go on the trail, I've probably been on 100 times this year, okay? She just kept going, and she kept saying things that just implied that I was really out of shape. And then she wanted me to thank her for that. And it was really, really awkward. I had had a really bad day. And the fact that she didn't remember that interaction and approached me the exact same way is why I said what I said.
Obviously, there is quite a stark difference between the, how she reacted to each of those times being, congratulated on doing, something, even though she's in a bigger body, right? And so she actually ended up going on kind of a rant because people were kind of calling this out. And I'm assuming probably she was calling a lot of people out from Reddit. She really gets upset with different Redditors, but this is from the subreddit Glitter and Bagel Snark, and they actually were able to capture these stories, which were deleted, I guess, not long after she put these up, and she is responding to people kind of talking about the hypocrisy between the trail incident and the, hiking the mountain incident. And I just think it's so fantastic that she actually did talk about this situation.
This up, but I just need to say it. I just need to get it out of my system. About a year and a half ago, maybe even longer at this point.
So one thing that I notice, that I've always noticed with her especially, is there is a different version of her in her stories versus her curated content, where she is either it's a brand deal or it's just like a piece of content that will be on her channel, right, on her page for eternity, right, unless she deletes it. There are two very different versions, and this is like the I'm gonna clap back kind of version of Anna that we're seeing here.
I was training for a 5K, and I can't remember if I was running or walking. In fact, I can't remember much about the situation other than a woman said something to me along the lines of...
So she definitely was at the time claiming that she was running, right? Because I remember after, right, we've seen the clip, she said, I ran off after I said this to this woman, right? So she was claiming that she was running, which again, she was getting upset because people were saying, well, I don't know if technically what you're doing is running. And this was a whole thing, right? It was a whole thing that she was very upset that people would say that she can't run, right? And her whole thing was like, just because I'm big, that doesn't mean that I can't run. And I ran a 5K. Okay, sorry.
Good job for getting out there, and it made me feel to the point where I actually cried. That is the way it was said to me. It was not positive. It was very like down talky. And I talked about this on stories. And then
so the way that she explained it in the video, one, I don't even know if that actually happened, right? I think this certainly could have just been something she manufactured just to have a story to make herself feel good, right? But the way that she said it wasn't like the person was like, good job, fatty, right? It's not like this person said that to her. I think it was her own insecurities definitely came to the forefront in that interaction. If it happened or not, I don't know, right? But I think her own insecurities about her situation came to the forefront to where she was upset that someone would be like, hey, good job for getting out here. Because I said it I think in my original video where I talked about this years ago, I have people sometimes that'll be like, thumbs up when I'm running. And, now I'm not overweight or anything. And I'm always like, cool, thanks. And I'll have people honk at me. Sometimes I think maybe they're encouraging. Sometimes I think they're being a-holes. It is what it is. But I've never once been like, I'm going to scold that person and yell at them and say, I'm running all the time. Don't you see me it's just such a bizarre response. And then even more so to feel that you need to share that on your story, I think is even a bigger deal, right? And
the dum-dums of the internet picked this up and said, oh, she's an ungrateful fat person, because of course we should be grateful for any time somebody compliments us for doing big shit that everybody does, and people take walks regardless of their size. But anyway, now they are coming.
So it's just interesting because while I can understand where you're coming from, you also are posting this stuff consistently on the internet to get basically that exact response. You are getting that exact response from that trail video, right? If we looked at the comment of that trail video, it's all people saying, wow, I could never do that. I'm so proud of you for doing this. This is so difficult. These people aren't even getting off the couch, right? You should be proud of yourself for doing something that's so difficult, right? That is almost exactly what is happening in the videos that you are making. And I think that's purposeful because the content that you are creating is eliciting that response. That is what you are trying to get out of it, right? You are trying to get out of it, I am a big person and I am still working hard and I would like recognition, therefore that is why I'm making the video. If you don't want recognition, why make the video, right? So you are hoping that people are going to recognize that you are doing difficult things. Now, is it different hiking up a mountain versus maybe just going on a short run on the trail? Maybe, yeah, it could be. But like the response that you are trying to get out of that video of hiking up a mountain is basically exactly that. Congratulations on doing something that is hard, especially for someone your size, right? It is that's basically exactly what you are hoping for here.
Back to me now. Cheered me on for making it to the top of the mountain, not realizing that hiking at high altitudes is not something that everybody does, and it's something to be celebrated regardless of your body size.
I mean, I think that's where it just depends, right? Because there are probably plenty of people that do these hikes pretty frequently and that it's not that huge of a deal. And there are people that, it's all relative, because I know that like when I was living in San Diego, there were plenty of hikes that I would do all the time, right? But for many people, they were very difficult. Like there was a time when I couldn't get up this mountain. There's a mountain called Cowles Mountain. I actually have really old videos of me hiking up it right here on the channel. And there was a time when I could not get to the top of that mountain. And now it's not something that's even really I don't want to say it's not a struggle, but it's very, very doable. Like there's never a moment in time when if I were to hike up it that I would be like, I don't think I could get to the top. Now it's like, how fast can I get to the top, right? And so it's all relative, right? So I think that like I could see Anna doing this hike frequently and then someone being like, oh, have you ever been up here? And she's like, I've been up here 20 times. What do you mean? I do this all the time. It's not even that hard, right? It's just there's different levels, I guess, right?
And I just hate that I have to deal with this. This is the dumbest thing in the world. I think what bothers me most about this is these people ruin the internet for everybody else. In fact, if you are digging and filling in all of the blanks that you find with whatever the hell you think, you can find something problematic with the most unproblematic person in the world.
Okay, but there's a reason why, in my opinion, I feel there's a reason why you have the audience and you have the people that follow you the way that you do. And I think most of the time it comes from a history of offenses, right? And so those are things that we've talked about on the channel. It's very, we're talking about Girl World, right? These are one of the constants that I notice with people that are in this, right? The subjects of Girl World are consistent need for attention, but then also consistent lies, right? Or over exaggerations or stretching the truth. And that's something that we have seen with Anna time and time and time again, right? And failure to take genuine accountability. And that's what we're seeing here again. It feels like there's a failure to be like, you know what? Maybe that what I did in the past was maybe messed up. Like not even like acknowledging like, yeah, I looked like not great in that situation. It's just, there's just never any acknowledgement. It's just like, these people are just haters and there's nothing I could do. And I haven't done anything wrong. It's just these people have too much time on their hands. These people are, it's just like there's never any accountability taken. That's something that you notice with most of the people that are subjects in the Girl World.
And that's not on them. That's on you having way too much freaking free time to do some deep dive into a stranger's life and then just make up any of the information that's missing. And I'm not really even just talking about myself or my situation. They ruin all sorts of things. These people suck. And they make the internet so unfun. Why can't we just let people like what they like?
So basically what I hear here is like, why can't I just make up a story and people just believe it and not look into the facts? I just want to be able to say whatever I want and people accept it. That's what I want. And I'm sick of people fact checking me. It's not fair.
And if you don't like it, go find something you do. Like, I don't understand how people feel the need to invest so much time in something.
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm listening to Mickey Mouse right now. Respectfully, I'm not trying to be mean, but the pitch and voice has changed quite a bit.
Something that doesn't bring them any joy unless hatred is their joy. And that's what it really boils down.
Well, I mean, yeah, I do think that people enjoy being haters, as you'd say, right? But that's their choice. And again, these people wouldn't be doing this if you weren't consistently putting out this information that is so contradictory all the time, just contradicting one thing after another after another. So I think all in all, it's very interesting whenever I talk about Anna, because I feel like she does, in my opinion, a kind of a better job at being able to mask her content in a way that if you're just someone that's kind of scrolling through, especially the short form content, if you're just scrolling through, you might see a post and be like, oh, that's really motivational. I'm really happy for her. Versus someone like an Amber Lynn, right? Where I feel like she can't get herself together to even make herself look like a character that someone would want to root for, even in short form content for the most part, right? But with Anna, she's very good at making that short form content be very digestible, and you're like, oh, I want to support this person. But then, like what you see with most of the snark pages or, the Reddit or whatever, is that when people start to dig deeper, there are layers like an onion, right? And you start to kind of pull things back and you start to just notice like, this seems a little off and this is kind of contradicting this thing. And then when you point that out, she gets very defensive and very, very upset. And I feel like that's one of the most interesting things about Anna is like there is this facade of like, oh, a normal everyday person that people are just being mean to. And then you look behind the scenes, you're like, oh, wow, there's a lot of contradictions that are happening here. And I feel like this whole example is a perfect example of that, right? I would love to know what y'all think down in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.